We've just crossed the threshold into fall. That means the oppressive summer heat should be subsiding and we can start retiring our half-shell helmets for full-face helmets and start thinking about other things to prepare for the cold weather, because it's coming. And today I want to talk about your hands, because the hands are probably the most important part of cycling once you get outside of pedals. You need pedals to make the bike go, but you need hands to control it. And unlike pedals where, well, your feet can freeze. I've ridden where it just felt like stubs, but I was still able to ride. Without gloves though, in cold weather, or even with gloves in cold weather, there's a point where you just can't feel the brakes. And if you have really good hydraulic disc brakes, it doesn't take a lot of pressure to go from light braking to, well, full-on wheel lockup. And if your fingers are numb, you're not going to be able to feel that specific point where that transition happens. That's not safe. Not to mention, just riding with cold hands, well, it's not fun. Now, I'm retiring my summer gloves in favor of my fall and winter gloves, and I have a new pair of winter gloves this year I'm going to share with you. I'm going to put links to the main ones that I use down in the description, so if you want to, you can go take a look at them. There's some good gloves, there's some, well, okay gloves. So let's talk about what I usually wear. If you've been watching my videos for years, at least the past couple of years, you've seen these. These are Budon, I think is how you pronounce that. These are decent gloves for summertime because they're so thin here. I mean, this is just a little thin polyester, kind of like yoga pants. And then on the bottom, there's a very light bit, but still some padding, enough that if you go down, if you crash, your hands always go down first. And these have protected me, I think, a couple of crashes. These have been in for, and you can see that I've retired them now to gardening gloves, and they're about to be retired as gardening gloves because holes started finally poking through. These have been very, very good summer gloves, but I felt I could do better, and that's where I discovered these. Now, these have been my go-to gloves for all of this year. They're Fireline. You can see it there on the finger. But what I like about these Fireline is they have just a little more protection here than those Budon gloves, but they're still very breathable. If I stretch this far enough, you can kind of see through it. See? You can actually see my flesh under there, but they also have more padding on the palm. And yes, I've crashed with these on, and they've held up far better. And I like that. You see that? There's padding right down there. So other gloves, like these gloves, you just have on the palm here. These have padding all the way onto the wrist, which, well, it just seems like a good idea. I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever wrist crashed before, but these are so far my favorite summer gloves. And some people just don't wear gloves in the summer, especially down here in the South, where you get the oppressive summer heat and humidity. They say they just don't like the sweatiness. Personally, I prefer the grip that these provide over sweaty hands on grips. So I'm willing to take a little sweat inside gloves, especially ones that are easily washable, but they give me protection. And once you get moving with this mesh here, these are very, very comfortable. The breeze just goes right through. But what they don't do well is when it starts getting cold, and as I mentioned, we just crossed that line into fall, so I need to start thinking about warmer gloves. And I've used over the past couple of years some different pairs. This is one set. These are however you want to pronounce this. I'm sure I got these off of Amazon or maybe even Walmart.com. Here we go. Dirt Paw. These are Dirt Paw, and you can see one benefit that these have is they have a little bit more knuckle protection. And knuckle protection is an overlooked protection, especially in mountain biking. Really, knuckle protection comes in handy. I have actually been sitting still, holding on to my handlebars, and had someone come up to talk to me, and I've had their brake lever clip gloves, a gloved hand, and this will help. Just glance, might have even been with these gloves, just glance right off, where normally, well, that would be painful because you would just have fabric. These have some finger and knuckle protection. That's good. And even here on the top of the hand, your bones. They don't, though, have a lot of padding here, which is kind of ironic that you have padding on the top, but not padding here. And that's why I've retired these. Matter of fact, I set them off in the basement and forgot about them. So I just found my fall gardening gloves for leaf mulching, stick picking up, and so on. Now, these are some of my favorites that I've ever had for summer riding gloves. I use these primarily for my scooter, for my Vespa, but I've also taken them onto the trail a couple of times. Anytime I'm on the trail and it's something new or technical that I've ridden, or if I travel, if I go somewhere to ride a trail I've never ridden before so I don't know what's coming, I want some hardcore finger and knuckle protection, and some slide protection here on the bottom. And these have a little bit of a different pattern. This is what I like about these on motorcycle. You've got the palm protection where you need it. And this is a hard, I don't know if you can hear that, but this is a very hard plastic with a soft rubberized coating down there. But there's also all these little micro dimples, and all of these are built to take a slide and protect without getting into your hand. So they're safe on streets for like scooters or motorcycle, but on a mountain bike trail, they're definitely going to get it done. And look at that knuckle protection. That is good stuff. And these do have these little wind pockets here. And I found that in the summer on a scooter, we can get up to, 55, 60 miles an hour. On a motorcycle, these will grab wind, and even on hot summer days, keep your hands cool. It's amazing how well those work. But surprisingly, even when it starts getting cooler, they're not bad until it gets really cold. When it gets into really cold, where your hands start going numb, you don't want any venting like that. So you want to step up to something warmer. And that's where I've used gloves like this. Well, looks familiar, right? That little protection there. And by the way, these were Iron GS. Again, links down in the description. These are Kimimoto. Everybody knows Kimimoto now. A lot of hardcore motorcycle people have started using Kimimoto, but also us mountain bikers and budget shoppers. And these offer the knuckle and finger protection, but with some padding there and the skid pads for both motorcycle and mountain bike and street riding. Street riders can use this too. You need gloves, warming gloves with street riders. But the benefit that these have over the Iron GS is this is kind of a, well, it's not trademarked, I don't think, but the Thinsulate kind of lining. You can see there, it's got a little lining. So they help a little bit to keep your fingers from not freezing to death. But they don't work when it gets so cold, like that really bitter cold, or even if there's snow on the ground. I found these just don't get it done. I've ridden literally with these gloves and had to stop because I couldn't feel my fingers. They did give me a little buffer, so I was out there for just a little long. And they're Thinsulate, but there's also very short cuff here. And that means air can come up under your sleeve and make your wrist and elbows and even your shoulders if you've crashed. I know that from experience. So these Kimimoto, not perfect, but definitely good for fall weather. Like I'd say down to maybe the 40s. These work just fine. Get below that to the freezing temperatures, and these start having a problem, or they just can't compensate, at least for long. They'll give you a little bit of trail riding, but not a super long full day of trail riding. So that led me to start searching out a glove for cold, cold weather. And it just so happens I was using these gloves on a ride with my buddy Steve-O, and this is his bike that I have to give back to him. And Steve-O said, let's go down to the shop because I have something down there that's going to help you with extreme cold weather. That gets us to these. These are Bontrager mountain bike mittens. I mean, they're actually the Bontrager brand. I don't know if it's down in here anywhere. There we go, Bontrager. These are actual Bontrager built for bikes, and they have a lining in them. They're a little puffy, but not super puffy. They feel kind of like that Thinsulate type material. The problem is, these are mittens, as you can see, and while they have a little bit of warmth to them, controlling mountain bike, I mean, you can grip and shift, even work a dropper post, but gripping and then reaching over to get a mountain bike lever, well, turns out that's problematic with these, which is shocking to me, considering that these are made and sold by a bicycle company to cyclists. My hands are sweating just being in those already, just for this brief little bit. So they are, decently warm, but I haven't been able to use them for any amount of time because they're just, well, they're mittens, and mittens don't work well, at least for mountain bikers. Maybe for road bikers, but really even there, grabbing a break, you never know when you need one fast. And, well, these just don't get it done. So those have been off the table, and that led me to start searching for the perfect winter glove, the perfect cold weather winter glove. And I think I found them for this year. My brand new gloves, by the way, here's the Amazon barcode. If you want to look at that, these are Westwood Fox. It says WFX here. What's that say? Bring your strength. But these were the ones I looked all over Amazon, and I thought, these might be the perfect glove. And I've had them out of the bag. I think they're going to meet the bill. They're going to do what I need to. Well, let's just take them out of the bag right here, and I'll show you why I think these are so good. First and foremost, knuckle protection. They're a little thick here, but they don't actually have any finger protection like those big guards that some of these other have had. But they definitely have knuckle protection, and they're padded here on the bottom. See that stitched padding? This is thicker material here than here. This is going to be good for sliding. Hopefully you don't have to. But what's the big thing about these is not only do they have that Thinsulate kind of lining in here, but they also have this cuff. And this cuff is a big deal, especially on scooters where I'm doing faster speeds because, as I mentioned, the air gets up under and goes through here. But even on mountain bikes, start going downhill, and that little bit of wind comes down. And these, put my hands down in here, they are controllable. I can already tell I'm going to have brake control. I have grip control. I'm already feeling the warmth right in through here. It's radiating up through my hand and down. So these are definitely going to be warm. They have this strap here. They have this that can even be tightened down. I can even hold things. If I need to put something in here, there's options there. And wow, the heat. Can't show that on camera, but there's a lot of heat. That means these should be really, really good gloves when I get out into the cold, cold weather. But the other benefit of these is that I don't really care what people think. I just use what I like. I ride scooters. I don't really care what people look over and think of me riding scooters in Alabama. You get looks. But I like the name here, the Westwood Fox, rather than, something like this, the Boudon, just having to look down at something that I don't even know if I can pronounce it properly. Having something when I'm riding like a Vespa or a high-end mountain bike like this, something like that, a very expensive mountain bike, it just feels better to have something that I can look down and think, yeah, that looks like it fits with something more expensive. The warmth of these is just absolutely amazing. They're comfortable, and yeah, they're going to be good gloves, and they're affordable. One of the most affordable options. And they're also, see that little reflector strips? You see that cuff of the sleeve? They'll keep air from coming up there. Both mountain biking and scootering, padding where I need it, strong padding, and I think they look pretty good. What do you think? What do you think about gloves? Showing you a lot of options here. Whether you use gloves during the summer or not, that's up to you. It's kind of like wearing full face, half face, or no helmet, which I would never recommend. But it's up to you. There are no laws, at least not in my area, as far as gloves and helmet go. But on trails, it's best to have a glove. But you can get away without them until you get to the fall, where you start needing something. It gets a little cooler. You need something on your hands. As mentioned, you need control. You don't want your fingers numb. When it gets really, really cold, well, I've never had that one great winter glove. This mittens, definitely not going to be it. But these Westwood Fox, my pick of the litter for this year, along with all my other gloves, of course, get that one out of the way now. So I have my favorite summer gloves. Get that out of the way. My favorite scootering for the summer and fall mountain biking gloves. These also good fall gloves, so they fit in there. And then, of course, my new winter gloves. Again, links down in the description. Comment below with what you think. What do you use for gloves during the winter, during the fall, and do you even wear gloves in the summer? And if so, what gloves do you use? Have you used these Fireline before? They're pretty good gloves too, and they come in multiple colors. That's today's video. Thanks for watching. Comment below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.